Hey, good evening. I am basically the video that I'm going to do today is basically on the how to convert heels, which is a little bit more interesting as compared to normal shoes where you can actually just do a transfer and utility on it, right? So this heel is actually part of the outfit of the what do you call that? Premier night outfit for Mominji, which is um, which is one of the commission I got, but it is actually one of the DeviantArt commission. But because I'm actually doing the Mominji model, so I thought I might as well add this in at the same time, right? And since this has a fairly high heel, so I thought I would do the tutorial on how to convert the high heels as well. So first thing first, what you want to do, right, is basically because you have a figure, right, and you have a shoe, and the shoe obviously you will not be able to fit in the actual figure. So let me just load in the uh, how do I put it? Let me just load in the Genesis 8 figure, right? So you have a Genesis 8 figure, and obviously it's not going to fit because the feet is straight and the heel is curved. So the first thing that you want to do is basically to get the correct curve on the figure, right? So how you go about that, right, is basically you export this shoe. Okay, so uh, normally they'll have a pair of shoes, but I like to work with one and then mirror it over, so it's easier that way. The only exception is if the two shoes are completely different in some ways, right? Okay, so I have this Mominji model that is already loaded, and then I'm going to import the shoe uh, that I have exported just now. So you will see the shoe here, and this is the Mominji figure. And the reason why I'm using the Mominji figure, right, is because this particular figure has a body morph uh, applied to it, which means to say you cannot use the standard normal Dust Studio body, right? So because of this, you have to use the Mominji uh, figure to find out what is the shall we say, the angle at which the feet will go to, right? And Genesis 8 actually does have this pretty interesting. If you go to the pose, if you select the foot, excuse me, if you select the foot and you go to pose, you will see a left foot, for example, left foot heel shoes, right? So what this does, right, if you dial this in, is that you will actually dial in a shoe configuration, right? So So I think I have a mistake somewhere. Uh, yep, I have a mistake somewhere. Uh, so I'll be needing to update the model again. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, so I'm not sure whether I covered this, but just in case, when you do a body morph, be sure to adjust rigging to shape, right? So otherwise you get weird results. Okay, so like just now as I mentioned, the foot, and if you dial it in, uh, a you'll get a heel shape for different various kind of high heel shoes, right? So what you need to do is you go to Mominji and you basically dial the foot to roughly where the feet will more or less fit into the shoe, right? So in my case, it's roughly around 50, right? And then you do the same with the the right foot. So right foot heel 50%. Okay. So once you get that, you can delete this shoe already. We won't be using this later. So once you get that right, what you want to do is to export this model. So export this to maybe say Mominji full morph 50%, right? So if you have a normal dust if you're just converting the shoe to fit a standard dust figure, you can use the normal dust the standard dust figure and do the same thing, right? So with this, you have the shoe, you have the figure. So I actually imported the figure already. So this is the Mominji figure 50%. Okay, so let me delete this one. So next, what you need to do, right, is to shape this shoe to fit this feet. Okay, so uh, it's the same as the normal fitting of the clothing to the figure, except that this time you are fitting a shoe to the feet. And if it seems that there's a little bit of progress already, that actually is because there is I I actually forgot that I have this to do for the tutorial, and I was roughly halfway through when I realized that, hey, this is actually a pretty good chance to actually show you how to do a shoe conversion, right? So there will be some plenty of space down here. Can't really be helped because this shoe is a straight black by right. For a female shoe, right, you should not be seeing that kind of thing, but in this case it can't really be helped, to be honest, right? So yeah, so you just need to fit the shoe to the figure roughly, and just make sure that the shoe is fitted so that it's not really very visible, and it should work out just fine. Yeah. So in fact, if you look at many of the 3D models and you really go and dissect it, right, there are a lot of this kind of tricks that they use almost all the time. So all the part down here is actually negative space or empty spaces. So just make sure that these clothings are actually fitted more or less uh, to your figure roughly. Okay, you're not going to get 100% because this particular shoe is actually fairly steep at 50%. Most of the high heel shoes that I've seen, right, is generally around 10%, maybe 10%, 30%. 50% is actually very steep. Yeah, so usually it's more of those extreme cases or very high heels, which this actually is. I mean, I have no idea how the ladies can go around wearing all this, and or even why you want to do that. I mean, it's super uncomfortable. Look at the arch of the feet. I mean, it's never mind. I'm sorry. Okay, so basically, once you get the shoe fitted to the feet, then like I mentioned, you just do a mirror. Okay, make sure that the clothing, the figures and all that are properly. There is no poke through anywhere, like you notice down here, and why in the world is there such a huge poke through? Uh, hmm, that should not be the case actually. Okay, so not exactly sure why there is such a big difference in the two models. By right, you should not be. It should be a mirror, and you should not be seeing such a huge discrepancy. I am not certain why, but just roughly, make sure that the feet is on both sides is fixed. Okay, then you can export this pair of shoes, export, overwrite this, and you come back here to the Debian, to the sorry, to the Dust Studio, and you import the shoes. Okay, so this is how the shoes look like, and it doesn't even fit correctly. What is going on here? Could it be I actually loaded the wrong figure? Oh dear. So let me, I'm sorry, work in progress. Let me load in the full 50%. Maybe there's a issue there. Okay, so there is an issue there. I'm not sure what my previous model is. I think it's there might be some problems with that. I'm not sure. But never mind, let me delete this. Or maybe that's the old model that I actually had a problem with earlier that I mentioned. Or is this the one that has the problem? No, it doesn't seem that way. Okay, so never mind. So sorry about that. I am somewhat rambling. So basically, as I mentioned, you will see the shoes. So need to do a bit of adjustment from here. Or actually, since I have this chance, I will delete off this part, and I will re-import the shoes to show you the entire process. Yeah, because basically I after that it's a little bit spoiled. So import XPS Premium XPS. So I get a XPS2. Alright, so this will be the premium. Night shoes. Okay, so first thing first, let me delete off everything. I do not need anything other than these shoes. So delete. The rest I will actually use the normal. I haven't even touched that one yet, so I will just continue from there. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, toggle X-ray and delete off half of this. So I'm only left with one side of the shoe, right? Then I will remove this modification, delete. I have this shoe left. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I like to deal with. I like to use quads. So these are all triangles. So one way currently I found out that there's this way that you can use to deal with this kind of quads is actually pretty interesting. That is to say, if you select this part down here, the blue color part is actually a sharpening module. Sorry, modifier. So you can actually go to this selection. Make sure you are selecting the edge selection. Select similar and select sharpness. Right. So all the sharpness will be selected. Then you just Control E and 1. Okay, so this will make it easier for you as well. So shift mark sharp. So you can use this to actually do a quick selection to mark all the uh, parts of the model that you want to maintain as a edge instead of being deleted. Mark sharp. Mark sharp. Right, so this is something that I learned, I found out more or less by mistake. It is useful, but to be honest, it's something that is a little bit on the extra side. So all the parts that, oh, like for example, you see this, if I remove the seams, yeah, so you just need to make sure that all these parts are also marked sharp, so that, and the reason why you want to do this, right, is that when later you press the quad key, you can do that easily. So mark sharp, and that about does it, I think. Mark sharp. Yeah, that about does it. Oh, some parts here as well. Okay, so mark sharp, and then you go to selection, select sharpness, and you put in the crest. So what this does, right, is that if you click on the alternate J, and you sorry, you highlight all, you click on alternate J to activate the trites to quads, right? So what happens is that they will actually try to do a conversion, right? So if you can do a compare sharp, then what happens is that all the parts that you previously marked, they will uh, they will not be override. So you will have a fairly clean line to work with when you are done here, right? Then you can go through the UV to clean up all these parts down here, or all the little parts that's in between. It's a little bit hard. Sometimes it depends whether you prefer it this way, but sometimes, like for example, in these parts, it's a little bit hard to select the in between, like this particular one down here. So it's easier to do so in the UV, which is what I'm doing down here right now. Okay, so you just go through and select, right? So delete, dissolve edge, and maybe say, if I this should be fine. This should be fine. Okay, so like the edge down here and the edge down here. Okay, so some might say that this is just a waste of time going through these edges, or these in between triangles. So one of the reasons why we do that, right, is because if you uh, see, resolve edge. So if you do a selection, say for example, if I select this, if I do a alternate, I press alternate, and I click on the a button. So what happens is that it will not select all, right? Because you click here and it doesn't, it basically stops down here. And the reason for that, right, is because you have this line down here. So it's the nature of the selection, right? So if you select down here, you will see that there's actually a line down here. So you cannot one shot with one click select the entire line. But if you do clean up all this, then yes, you can select the entire line in one shot, making it much easier to do things. Like if you want to move the entire edge, it will be much easier when you don't need to worry about these kind of things, right? So it takes a lot more time. Actually, it takes quite some time. And if you look at some of the live streams that I'm doing, most of the time is actually spent dealing with these kind of things, right? So, but it is important, because otherwise, there are a lot of function that is much more troublesome to use uh, in a triangle environment, so to speak. Okay, so just let me clean up all this. Like in this particular case, the model isn't that big, so it's basically just a shoe. So it's still fairly easy to clean up, right? Compared to, like, say for example, the Purifying Flame outfit, which is the Momonji's original default outfit. This one that I actually did twice, because the first time I did it, and then I found out that I screw up on the body transfer, so I have to do it again. Right, so I spent 2 days just dealing with this outfit. This one is a very complicated one, right? So the shoe is yeah, basically nothing much going on. So just oops, yeah. So make sure you don't select wrong stuff. Like in this particular case, I have no idea why this entire part is selected. Make sure you only select the parts that you want to delete, and then you dissolve the edge. And now you have a clean geometry. So if you click this, you will actually go through the entire circle until it stops down here, because there is an additional edge here, right? So if you click this, it'll go all the way through around. So this is the advantage that you use, that you have when you're doing this kind of operation, right? So sometimes you click on the wrong things, then you need to do a bit more cleanup. It happens, right? So the UV is actually a fairly useful tool. So make use of it. Sometimes just look through and see, where are the parts that you don't think is fitting properly, or there are things in between here and there. Like for example, here you can see very clearly. It makes things much easier sometimes, not always, but it is useful. So make use of it. So dissolve edges, dissolve edges, dissolve edges, and yeah, so more or less that is how your shoe will turn up, right? Then the reason for all of this, right, is basically so that I can put in a subdivide modifier, make things smoother. That's basically it. Right, so let me load in the shoe again, sorry, the feet again. Now I'm going to do the fitting. So I'll move this over, and global transformation, move this over, something like that. Okay, so you see that this particular, at this time, it actually fits much closer. So I think there is something wrong with the model that I'm using just now, which doesn't fit properly. So yeah, it's a good thing that I actually did this video. Then otherwise I'll have to repeat the process again, because I'll have to redo the entire feed again. Yeah, so not good. Okay, so same as the normal, like what I mentioned just now, fit the shoe to the feet as much as you can, as close as possible, right? So some movements are unavoidable, even though this is already fitted. It's already a Momenji fitted body. But if you ever look at the models for the game, for example, you will find that they actually fit the clothing, sorry, they fit the body to the clothing instead of the other way around, which is the reason why all these games, right, they have a different model for all the clothing. So for example, if you have a player one clothing, you will have a different model for the player one clothing compared to the player two clothing. So player one and player two, or costume one and costume two, right, they are different model. So instead of, say for example, in this kind of scenario where you have a body, right, in this case the Genesis body, and you have a bunch of clothing that you can fit to the body. So games, they don't do that because they fit the body to the clothing, right? It is actually very easily shown. So if I show you, this is the outfit. This oh dear. Oh, okay, because I don't have any selection. Okay, so this is the Mominji's swimwear. So flat feet. Okay, so if I put in her outfit, um, is it this one? No, this is the hair. So this is the original Momiji figure, right? So this is already fitted. Uh, So let me load in the outfit. So costume 1. Okay, so this is the costume 1 clothing. Then I will scale it up. Okay, so it goes over exactly where the body is, and this is the breast, slightly small. Okay, so what you notice at once basically is that it's not very clear cut now because I did not put the two together, right? But what you will notice right here, right, is that the feet, even though she's wearing high heels, right, is roughly where the flat feet was. Okay, so this is the body. Okay, so you see that roughly the hands and the hands and legs, the hands are slightly on the okay, so the hands are fitting properly, but if you look at the feet, right, you will see that the legs are actually uh the high heels is at the same position as the flat feet. So what this tells you is that they basically, instead of fitting the clothing to the body, they fit the body to the clothing. So in actual fact, if you take the high heel shoes of Mominji and you try to fit it to dust, for example, right, you'll find that her legs are actually slightly shorter than what you expect, and this is the reason why. Okay, so you have to adjust from there when you are doing the conversion. Okay, so in our case, as I mentioned, the because of this, that's the reason why we need to, when we are doing the fitting of the clothing over from the various clothings, right, we do it separately instead of combining them all into one model. And I actually kind of lost track of what I'm trying to say. I'm so sorry. Yeah, yeah. So what was I trying to talk about anyway before all that? Uh, I'm very sorry. I kind of lost track of what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I might have to rewatch this video myself to see what's going on. Okay, so basically you just need to fit the shoe to the feet, right? As a matter of fact, I think it might have been a better idea if I just script this entire thing and redo it the whole thing again. But forget it. I'll just let people laugh at me and for losing the train of my thought in the middle of a stream or in the middle of this video. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so basically just move the vertices around until you can fit the feet, fit the shoes in onto the feet in this particular case. Okay, so that is roughly the shoe fitted basically to the feet, and then mirror, and it should be properly done. So that means to say the reason why just now it failed is because my model has something wrong with it. I am fairly sure that is the error mod. Now that I think about it, that is the error model that I was working on. Uh, that is the one that caused me to actually have to redo everything. That is the model, right? So now you got your shoes fitted properly. So I will export them to the Nike Shoes Premium and import them in again. So premium shoes imported. Okay, so you can see that it's fitted properly. Next will actually be the rigging. uh, you want to convert the rigging over from the figure to the shoe, but high heels actually is a bit more tricky, right? So how you deal with it, right, is first I found out that this is just something that I found. If I'm not wrong, you can use this method directly onto this figure, but I found out that it is actually easier and has less distortion if you do it with a basic Genesis figure, right? Instead of using the Momji body morph applied figure, right? So I'm not sure why that is the case. Let me just hide this. So I'm not sure why that is the case, but that's how it works. I have no idea why. Okay, so same thing. I'll just push it to 50% and 50% here, right? Then this is the key point. Uh, go to go to the join editor. Okay, then you go to currently use. Down here, select the figure currently used and take note of all this. What I do is I use a snipping tool, right, which is basically Windows default screenshot tool. I'm not sure what Mac uses, but I think Mac has its own. So if you're on a Mac, then you have to find your own solution. And the reason for that, right, is because you want all these figures, right? So right click and go to big join rotation. Right click, edit, big join rotation. And what happens is that all this will be zeroed out, right? Then you input them back again from this figure. So it's 26.7. We'll go 26.7, 26.7. Then 50%. So 50%, 50%. And then 30.8, 30.8, and 30.8. Okay, so if you want a reason or the explanation as to why you need to do all this, I honestly have no idea. I'm actually following a tutorial. If you search Hughes does 3D in YouTube, let's see, YouTube, Hughes does 3D, right? So there is this rigging high heels shoes in Dust 3D. This video will basically explain why you do the process, right? I have no idea. Okay, so next what you want to do is you want to do a standard display utility, fit the shoe to the Genesis 8 figure that we actually did the process to, right? So current, so Genesis 8 figure current, the shoe, default, and you accept. Okay, so what this does is that you actually put the shoe, parent it to uh, the clothing. So that's what you want, because if you do not, this value won't appear. What you need to do now is to zero out all this value, right? So again, you if you want to know why, this video will tell you. I have no idea. I just know that that's how it works. Okay, next, come up to this particular panel down here. Okay, if you go to edit screen identification, you click on that and make sure that this is selected Genesis 8 female. Okay, then you can fit the clothing to Mominji and it will disappear. Okay, this one you can delete off and open up, and you will see that the distortion is there, right? But don't worry, we'll fix that. So you go to the premium, the shoe, and click on the Morph Loader Pro. Okay, so if you click on the Morph Loader Pro, you can go to the clothing, the shoe, go back to the original model that you imported, right? And then you open that up. Okay, I actually have this as a preset. I created this preset already. I think if I'm not wrong, it's this one here. Or the default is no, so this one goes to yes, and the original is make unique, right? So I have it as a delta only overriding existing. This is for when I'm doing the when I'm updating body morphs and head morphs, right? So it works for me as this setting. So this is the reason why I'm using this. But in your case, you might want to just leave it as make unique. I'm not very sure as to whether, because basically the deltas only is to override morphs. If make unique, if you press make unique, they will not be able to do so. So that's what I do. This is the settings that I use, but make unique might actually work better for you. I'm not sure. So just click accept, let it run, and then go to the morphs and fit it in, right? So you dial in this morph, you fit it in. So after this, the shoe will actually fit correctly to the feet, right? So if you see something like that, then you just put in a smoothing modifier, asset, geometry, and smoothing modifier, and that should fix this problem. Okay, so this is basically how you do hues. So I'm sorry for the my gaff set right in the middle. I have no idea what happened. I just start rambling and I completely lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, so hope you learned something. If you have any further questions, just let me know and I can do another tutorial if I can find a suitable project to show you. Otherwise, thanks for watching and good night. Goodbye.